All right, it is 6:05 straight up. Are you all able to hear me okay and see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Happy Wednesday to you all. I hope your day has been good. If not, I hope and pray that it gets better. We will jump right into where we left off at on Monday, and that begins us at the standard deduction and tax computation portion of our training. Does anyone have any questions or concerns as it relates to anything that we've covered before we jump into this? Okay, I'm gonna take that as no. So standard deduction and tax computation. Taxpayers who cannot take standard deduction and must itemize are filing as married filing separately, and the spouse also itemizes. I'm not sure if you recall, but during the filing status portion of the training, I did make mention of that if a taxpayer is or taxpayers are filing as married filing separately and one spouse itemizes, then the other spouse also has to itemize. Whether or not they have enough to itemize does not matter. If one files, if they're filing married filing separate, one files itemized, the other one has to do as well. Non-resident dual status aliens can also cannot take the standard deduction and must also itemize. The standard deduction is automatically calculated based on entries in the basic information section. A lot of things are such as credits, deductions, all of that are pulled from the basic information or entity section of TaxSlayer where you are entering that information. So it's always important that you are checking the name, the date of birth, and the social security number that is entered correctly. Standard deduction is higher for a taxpayer or spouse that are 65 or older, or if one or both spouses are blind. It refers you to publication 4012, tab E, adjustments, standard deduction chart for people 65 or older or who are blind as a guide to computing the standard deduction. Again, I've made mention several times, there's nothing that you have to compute or calculate. The software does all of that for you as long as you are putting the information in the correct place, as long as the date of birth and all of that is correct, then it's going to automatically compute and calculate accordingly. Taxpayers can't take the highest standard deduction if one spouse is 65 or older or is blind, and if the taxpayer files a joint return. A taxpayer files a separate return and can claim an exemption for the spouse. A lower standard deduction is offered for an individual who can be claimed as a dependent on another person's tax return. Form 13614C has a checkbox for a dependent being claimed by another taxpayer. It advises you or refers you to the Form 1040 instructions, standard deduction worksheet to calculate the deduction. Again, that's not something that you will need to do. That standard deduction is automatically pulled and placed on that 1040 depending on if that box is checked or not. Standard deduction versus itemized. We always want the taxpayer to have what is going to give them the bigger or better advantage. So sometimes itemizing is better, or sometimes taking the standard deduction is better. If a taxpayer comes in and they're not sure, you can always enter what they have for itemizing into the system, and the software is going to tell you whether or not the standard deduction is better or if they should itemize. But example of type of expenses that generally warrant itemizing deductions is large out-of-pocket medical and dental expenses, state and local income taxes, sales tax, real estate taxes, and or personal property taxes, mortgage interest, gifts to charity, and certain other miscellaneous deductions. So even if the taxpayer comes in and they have those documents and they're not sure, you could enter that information into the system to see if they have enough that will override the standard deduction and give them the better advantage if they should itemize. qualified business income for taxable years beginning after December 31st, 2017 and before January the 1st, 2026, there is a deduction for pass-through businesses. Sole proprietors are categorized as pass-through businesses. A sole proprietor will be able to take up to 20% of qualified business income or QBI as a deduction on the tax return. The calculations on Schedule C and Schedule SE are not affected by the deduction. Taxable income is not reduced below zero by the 20% deduction. The 20% deduction is limited for higher incomes, and the deduction will also be limited for specified service trades or businesses. This is another that is automatically pulled based on the information that's entered on the return. So you don't have to figure out what that amount is or if they qualify for the qualified business income deduction. It's automatically pulled based on the information that you enter on that return. Determining taxable income and tax. Taxable income is determined by taking the adjusted gross income and subtracting standard or itemized deductions and the deduction for qualified business income. A separate worksheet is used to calculate tax for taxpayers with capital gains, qualifying dividends, and foreign earned income. Any questions regarding standard deductions? Itemized deductions, you will see standard deduction versus itemized deductions for the most part, but you will have some taxpayers that do want to itemize. Those taxpayers are normally ones who itemize all the time, or you may have some that are new to itemization and don't know what all it entails or if they have enough to itemize. But taxpayers should itemize. The total allowable deductions are higher than the standard deduction amount. Taxpayers ineligible for standard deductions should itemize deductions. It refers you again to the publication 4012, tab F, deductions. There are two tabs that you can look at. Persons not eligible for standard deduction, interview tips for help in determining if a taxpayer qualifies for a standard deduction, or interview tips, itemized deductions to help determine if a taxpayer should itemize. Again, I would advise if a taxpayer comes in and they have a mortgage interest statement, they've paid sales tax, they have done charitable contributions, and they're not sure if that amount is enough to get them to the itemization threshold, I would advise to input that information into the system, and the system is going to select the larger of the itemized. It will give the taxpayer the option of, even if the itemization total is not as high as the standard, if they still want to itemize, it will give you the option to take that as well. But we again want to advise the taxpayer, we want to use the number that is going to give you the higher deduction, but it's always their choice. Medical and dental expenses. Qualified medical and dental expenses paid by the taxpayer can be included for the taxpayer, the spouse if it applies, and any qualifying dependents that they claim on that return. It refers you to publication 502, medical and dental expenses. That'll give you more information on what type of medical and dental expenses the taxpayer can take. There is also a limit on the amount of medical and dental expenses, but again, that's not something that you will have to remember or do. The software will automatically take that cap. This is the publication 502 that you can refer to if you have any questions as it relates to medical and dental expenses. Hold on one second. I don't know why. Hold on, guys. My presentation just disappeared. Okay, there we go. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I don't know what this computer is doing. I think I may have to go out and come back in. I don't know what this computer is doing. So give me 5 minutes, you all.
I see it now.
It just came out. Listen, this is a Mac computer that I absolutely hate. All right. Just if anybody wants to know, I absolutely hate it. All right. So, continuing on, taxes that may be deductible are certain taxes may be deductible if paid by the taxpayer during the tax year, such as state and local income taxes, sales taxes, real estate taxes, and other foreign taxes. The most common taxes that you will see are real estate taxes and state and local income taxes. You will have some sale taxes if taxpayers have made big purchases through out the tax year and they've kept their receipts or know their totals. And if that sale tax is larger than the state and local income taxes, they can't take both. They'll have to take one or the other. And the software will take whichever is the highest amount. It refers you to publication 17, which taxes you can deduct, table for more information. Interest paid is another common document or amount that taxpayers are going to want to itemize. Certain types of interest are the mortgage interest, points paid as a form of interest, and it states investment interest, which is out of scope for the VITA TCE program. With the mortgage interest, they will need to have their mortgage interest statement in order to claim that interest as a deduction. Again, it refers you to the publication 17. There is a flow chart in there to determine whether or not the mortgage interest is fully deductible. Gifts to charity is another common one that you will see. Taxpayers will have their receipts to determine the amounts. Sometimes they'll have receipts from if they've made donations to Goodwill, Salvation Army, and other organizations like that. Those organizations will give receipts but won't have totals. And so if the taxpayer is trying to use that, then they'll have to give you an amount comparable to what they donated in order for you to put that. But another type of gifts to charity that a lot of people use is if they give to their local church, then they'll use that. Taxpayers are required to keep receipts and records of all of their contributions. And again, it refers you to your publication 17 for more information. Miscellaneous deductions include gambling losses and work-related expenses for disabled individuals. When a taxpayer is coming in and trying to deduct or itemize gambling losses, they can only take up to an amount of gambling winnings. And so if they are not claiming gambling winnings on their return, then they can't take the gambling losses. You can enter this information into the software, and the software is going to take what it is allowed to take. And so you don't have to figure that out. But if you're not sure, it always refers you to your publication 17 or your publication 4012 for more information. All itemized deductions are subject to the 2% of AGI limitations that are not allowed through the end of 2025. This includes employee business expenses. Out of scope as it relates to itemized deductions is if a taxpayer is trying to claim casualty and theft losses, investment interest, Form 1098C contributions of motor vehicles, boats, and airplanes, taxpayers affected by limits on charitable deductions, taxpayers who file Form 8283 to report non-cash contributions of more than 500, taxpayers donating property that was previously depreciated, taxpayers donating capital gain property, repayment of income of $3,000 or more, loss or termination of an annuity by a deceased annuitant. Any questions regarding itemized deductions? Credit for child and dependent care expenses. We've talked about income. We've talked about deductions. We've talked about standard deduction, itemized deductions. Now we'll get into credits. Credit and for child and dependent care expenses is one that you may see. This credit is for taxpayers who pay to for their child to go to after school care, daycare, any organization like that for them to be able to work. The child credit for child and dependent care expenses is a non-refundable credit. Generally, non-refundable credits are applied against tax in the order they are listed on the Form 1040 Schedule 3. A non-refundable credit is a dollar for dollar reduction of the tax liability. A non-refundable credit can only reduce the tax liability to zero. A refundable credit can reduce the tax liability and result in a refund to the taxpayer. The child independent care credit is available to eligible taxpayers as a portion of their child independent care expenses. The credit may be claimed by taxpayers who, in order to work or look for work, pay someone to take care of their qualifying person. The credit can range from 20% to 35% of a taxpayer's qualifying child or dependent care expenses. Taxpayers may be able to exclude employer-provided dependent care benefits from income. If they have those type of benefits, it will show in box 10 of their Form W-2. The qualifying person for This credit is a qualifying child under the age of 13, a spouse who is incapable of self-care, or a dependent who is incapable of self-care. Determining taxpayer eligibility. It refers you to um, the publication 4012 tab G, non-refundable credits, credit for child and dependent care expenses. There is a screening sheet there to determine if a taxpayer can claim the credit. That's not something that you will necessarily have to use unless the taxpayer comes in and have questions about if they can or cannot claim that credit. 99% of the time, the taxpayer is coming in and they want that credit, they already know whether or not they can claim it. There are 5 eligibility tests the taxpayer must meet in order to qualify for that credit. That's the qualifying person test, the earned income test, the work related expense test, the joint return test, and the provider identification test. The taxpayer must pass all 5 of the tests in order to qualify for the credit. The qualifying person test. The taxpayer's child and dependent care expenses must be for the care of one or more qualifying people. It refers you to the publication 4012 tab G to determine who is a qualifying person. But again, they have to be under 13, spouse who is incapable of self-care, or dependent who is incapable of self-care. The earned income test. It refers you to publication 4012 in order for you to look at the table to determine what is earned income. Again, with the software, all you have to do is to enter what the taxpayer gives you into the software. If there is not enough earned income, or there is no earned income on the return up to that point, because up to when you by the time you get to credits, you've entered all the income. And so if there's no earned income or on that return that's going to qualify the taxpayer for this credit or any other credits, then the software is not going to put that credit on the return. The work-related expense test. There's a limit on work-related expenses of $3,000 paid for one qualifying person, or $6,000 for 2 or more qualifying persons. Again, the software takes the limit, so there's nothing that you will have to figure out. So if the taxpayer comes in and they stated that they've paid $6,000 for one child to go to after-school care or daycare or whatever that looks like, you can put in what that document says, and the software is going to take that maximum. The joint return test. Generally, married couples must file a joint return in order to claim the credit. The provider identification test. The taxpayer must have the care provider's name, address, and taxpayer identification number. The software also asks for the phone number, but the phone number is not required. The name, address, and social security number of that provider is. The form 2441 is used in order to claim that credit. It's automatically populated when you enter the information into the software from the taxpayer regarding their dependent care expenses. So that is not something that you need to figure out. Although there is 3 parts to the form, the information that you enter is going to populate on the respective part, on the respective page of that form 2441. The taxpayer's child and dependent care expenses are subject to an earned income limit. Any questions as it relates to dependent care expenses? Education credits are another common credit that you will see. Education credit amounts are based on qualified education expenses paid during the tax year. Education credits are amount that will also reduce the amount of tax due. The amount is based on qualified education expenses that the taxpayer paid during the tax year. It refers you to the publication 4012 tab J, education benefits, highlights of education tax benefits. There is also an interview, and to help you guide the interview, this tab will help. There's also a chart in the publication 4012 under education credits that will help you determine what expenses qualify and what don't. Disqualifying conditions include if a taxpayer can be claimed as a dependent on someone else's tax return, files as married filing separately, has an AGI above the limit for the taxpayer's filing status, and was a non-resident alien for any part of the tax year and did not elect to be treated as a resident alien for tax purposes. Taxpayers can take education credit for themselves, their spouse, and or dependents if those dependents are claimed on the tax return, as long as they were enrolled at or attended an eligible post-secondary educational institution during the tax year. You don't have to determine whether or not the school that person went to was an accredited school, was a school that should qualify them for that credit, or any of that. If you want to figure out if that school is accredited, there's a link there, or you can go to irs.gov to find it. I wouldn't go through if the taxpayer has that 1098-T that shows that they were in school, what the information is for that school. Take it, enter that information into the system, and allow the Internal Revenue Service to do what they do to determine whether or not they are eligible for that credit. Qualifying expenses. If you've ever been to a post-secondary educational institution, then you know that it is expensive to attend school. However, some expenses do not qualify for the credit. And so the taxpayer will have that 1098-T statement issued by the school, and sometimes they'll have receipts that show what they paid, how much they paid, and what they paid it for. And so while you can take most of those expenses that they paid for, some expenses do not qualify for the credit. Some expenses that do not qualify include room and board, insurance, medical expenses that may have been spent or paid. If the taxpayer paid for transportation costs for the student or themselves, or they are the student, or any type of family expenses. And so if you have questions about whether or not the expense that they have listed on their receipt or on their tuition statement qualifies, then I will refer you to your publication 4012, your publication 17, or your 1040 instructions to determine whether or not that expense qualifies. Qualified expenses must be reduced by the amount of any tax-free educational assistance taxpayers received. Taxpayers can claim payments that were prepaid for the academic period that begins in the first 3 months of the next year. And so if the taxpayer has the 1098-T and it shows the amount that they paid for tuition, and I think it's box 1, box 3, I believe it is, will show if there were scholarships or any type of grants or anything, or their receipts will show that. And so you will have to deduct that amount if it's not already deducted from their total expense amount before you put that amount on the line. Once we get into the practice lab, we can look at the educational expense. I think it may have changed where they have different entries for the tuition and scholarships, but we'll clarify, or I clarify that once we get into the practice lab and we have a 1098-T to enter. There are two types of education credits: the American Opportunity Credit and the Lifetime Learning Credit. The American Opportunity Credit allows 40% of the credit to be refundable. It's available for any taxpayers during their first 4 years of college per eligible student. The credit covers 100% of the first 2,000, 25% of the second 2,000 of eligible expenses, up to the amount of tax or a maximum of 2,500. Again, you don't have to compute that. You don't have to remember that. The software will do all that for you. It refers you to the form 8863, which is the form that is used to claim the education credit for more information. The Lifetime Learning Credit. While the American Opportunity Credit is the one that you may see most often, you may have an opportunity to see the Lifetime Learning Credit as well, especially if a taxpayer or student has already passed their first 4 years of education. Maybe they're into receiving their master's, their doctorate, but they still want to receive an education credit. Then the Lifetime Learning Credit is going to apply. That credit is 20% of the first $10,000 of eligible expenses up to the amount of tax or a maximum of $2,000. This credit is non-refundable. Eligible students are not required to be enrolled at least half-time or in a degree program like the American Opportunity Credit, but they cannot have a felony conviction. And so the software will ask if they have a felony conviction. And I don't think that question is on the 13614. But if they're claiming the credit, then that is a credit. That is a question that you will have to ask the taxpayer. Refer to publication 4012 tab J again for more information as it relates to education benefits. Choosing between the credits. Taxpayers cannot double dip, so they can't get the American Opportunity Credit and the Lifetime Learning Credit for one person themselves or a student. It's either one or the other. And so taxpayers have several options for claiming education expenses, either the American Opportunity Credit or Lifetime Learning Credit, or they can report those expenses on Schedule C as a business expense. I've never seen a taxpayer take the business expense on a Schedule C because they want what's going to give them a bigger refund or a bigger tax break. And so they are going to elect to have these education credits, but they can only get one for each student. Even if they can have multiple students on the return, but they can only get one credit for per student. And this says determining the amount of credit. That's not something that you'll do. The software is going to do that based on the information that you've entered into the software up until that point. It is going to take whichever education credit is that gives the taxpayer the bigger advantage based on the way that those questions are answered in the software. The credits are claimed on the Form 8863. It populates to the respective place on the form based on which credit the taxpayer is taking for the student. You're going to enter each student expenses. So again, if the taxpayer is claiming 3 dependents, all 3 of those dependents are in school or a post-secondary educational institution, and they want to claim those credits for them, then you're going to enter each student's expenses separately. Any questions as it relates to education credits? Child tax credit and credit for other dependents. Anytime a taxpayer comes in with a qualifying child that meets this criteria, this is going to be one of the most common credits that you see. The child tax credit and credit for other dependents. The child tax credit is unique because if a taxpayer cannot benefit from the non-refundable credit, the taxpayer may qualify for the refundable additional child tax credit on the Schedule 8812. The child tax credit is non-refundable, but it allows taxpayers to claim a tax credit of up to $2,200 that was increased this year. Taxpayers who are not able to claim the full amount of the child tax credit may be able to take the refundable additional child tax credit, or ACTC. It refers you again to your publication 4012 tab G, non-refundable credits, child tax credit, for more information. Now, in order for the taxpayer to be able to claim this credit, the qualifying child must be the taxpayer's dependent. So if they've checked that someone else is claiming that dependent, then they will not get the credit for that depended on that return for the child tax credit or the additional child tax credit. The taxpayer must have at least one qualifying child. Um, if taxpayers claim the child tax credit or additional child tax credit but are not eligible for the credit, then they can be banned from claiming the credit for either 2 or 10 years. There are special rules for children of divorced or separated parents, as well as children of parents who live apart. The amount of the credit, again, that's not something that you will figure out. The amount of the credit may be reduced if the taxpayer's modified adjusted gross income is above the limits for the taxpayer filing status, and the tax liability is less. The majority of the non-refundable credits is less than the maximum child tax credit. Again, the tax software makes all these calculations based on your entries that you enter for the taxpayer up until you get to that point. Schedule 8812 is the only document used to calculate that credit. Again, TaxSlayer will automatically calculate the credit provided you have correctly completed the Form 1040 through the Retirement Savings Contribution Credit line or Part 1 of Form 5695 Schedule R. You are able to skip around in the software in order to do different things in the software at different times, depending on what document that you have. But it's easier to, if you follow the steps of the software, doing the income, deductions, adjustments, then going into the credit. That way, you know that everything is calculated the way that it needs to be calculated. However, if you don't, and you have to hop back and forth depending on what the document is in your hand at the time, if that's the way that's easier for you to do. Once you've entered the information that's necessary for that return to be completed, it's going to calculate what it needs to calculate correctly. Additional child tax credit. Taxpayers, the additional child tax credit allows eligible taxpayers to claim up to a set amount for each qualifying child. Don't know if you remember or not, but we did talk about the changes, the important changes. And so we know the amount for child tax credit changed. And so that changed the amount of what the taxpayer may be eligible for. And so we know it's 2,200 versus the 2,000. For taxpayers who earned income over 2,500, the credit is based on the lesser of 15% of the taxpayer's earned income that is more than 2,500, or the amount of unused child tax credit. The refund for taxpayers claiming the child tax credit will not be issued prior to February 15th. And so that has been the standard for the last few filing seasons. So for taxpayers who are coming in and they're receiving any type of credit, such as child tax, additional child, or earned income credit, and once you finish their return, they want to know when they're going to get their refund. You have to advise them if it's before February 15th. Those refunds are not issued before February the 15th. Credit for other dependents. There is a $500 credit for other dependents who do not qualify for the $2,200 child tax credit. The dependent must be a U.S. citizen, U.S. national, or resident of the U.S. The dependent must have a valid identification number, whether that's an ATN, ITN, or SSN. The $500 non-refundable credit covers dependents who don't qualify for the child tax credit, such as children who are age 17 or above, or dependents with other relationship, such as parents. And so we know a lot of taxpayers claim dependents other than, or claim dependents other than their children. And so some who take care of their parents will claim their parents, or the child may be over at the age of 17 and don't qualify for the child tax credit. And so that way they qualify for the $500 credit for other dependents. All right. Avoiding common errors. When considering the child tax credit or credit for other dependents, it is critical to interview the taxpayer thoroughly and complete the dependent section of the intake and interview sheet to correctly identify eligible children or other dependents. You again want to make sure that you're entering the correct date of birth, the social security number, and all of that for any dependents that's listed on that return, so that that information is able to be pulled from out the different sections in the software to calculate the necessary credits correctly. The child tax credit allows taxpayers to claim a tax credit of up to $2,200 per child. When the dependent is not eligible for child tax credit, they may be eligible for the non-refundable $500 credit for other dependents. The qualifying child must have a valid SSN by the due date of the return, including extensions. To claim the credit for other dependents, the dependent must have a valid identification number by the due date of the return, including extensions. If taxpayers claim the child tax credit or additional child tax credit but are not eligible for the credit, they can be banned from claiming the credit for either 2 or 10 years. Any questions as it relates to child tax credit and credit for other dependents? All right. Earned income credit is another common big credit that you will see. It is a refundable tax credit available to eligible taxpayers who do not earn high incomes. Qualifying taxpayers can receive a refund even if they have no filing requirement, owe no tax, and had no income tax withheld. Families may claim EIC for 3 or more children, and amounts are adjusted for inflation every year. And we talked about the amount for earned income credit during important changes for the year. There are 3 sets of rules that qualifies taxpayers for the EIC. There's a general eligibility rule for everyone. There are rules for taxpayers with 1 or more qualifying children, and rule for taxpayers who do not have a qualifying child. Those eligibility requirements are listed in your publication 4012, Part A and Part D. In order to avoid common errors associated with the EIC, make sure that all income is reported correctly, because it pulls from the income section of that return to determine whether or not the taxpayer had earned income and meet the income threshold. Incorrectly reported SSNs is another common filing error, and that's just not for the EIC, that is in general. So we want to make sure that we are ensuring that we are entering the correct Social Security numbers for the taxpayers, the spouse if it applies, and all dependents that are claimed on that return. Married taxpayers incorrectly filing as single or head of household, and claiming a non-qualifying child. There is a chart in your publication 4012 that gives you examples of what is earned income for EIC purposes. The most common types of income come from wages, salary, tips, and other taxable employee pay. Taxable long-term disability benefits received prior to minimum retirement age also qualifies. And if a taxpayer had non-taxable combat pay, that may qualify them as well. Again, refer you to your publication 4012 for a list of all types of different types of income that may qualify the taxpayer for earned income credit. Taxpayers with qualifying children. Claiming a child who is not a qualifying child is one of the most common EIC errors. And so it advises you to make sure you apply the rules correctly. If a taxpayer comes in and they advise you that this is my dependent, this is my nephew, my niece, my aunt, my mom, whoever I'm claiming on their return, is not your responsibility to go down a rabbit hole trying to determine whether or not they have the legal right to claim that person as a dependent. That's what IRS is for. And so if they're coming in, they have all the information, they're answering the questions correctly. Yes, they live with me for 12 months. Yes, I provide all of the support or over 50% of the support for that dependent. And so I can claim them. Then you're going to do what it is that they tell you needs to be on that return. If anything makes you uncomfortable or takes you to the point to where you're not comfortable filing that return, then again, you want to always refer to your site coordinator, or you can decline completing that return because you don't have to complete that return, uh, although you are there as a volunteer. It refers you to the publication 4012 again, for under the earned income credit tab to give you more information as it relates to earned income credit. If there's any confusion, if you have any questions, or if you need clarification on anything as it relates to earned income credit, refer to your publication 4012 or more advanced tax preparer, or your site or assistant site coordinator. Taxpayers without qualifying children may also qualify for earned income credit. There are rules in your publication 4012 under the earned income credit tab, and as well as charts that give you information on what makes a taxpayer eligible if they don't have qualifying children. The taxpayer must be at least age 25, but under age 65 as of December 31st. They cannot be the dependent of another person, and they must have lived in the U.S. for more than half the year in order to determine if they qualify for earned income credit. The good thing about the software is the software will pull that information for you. So you don't have to determine whether or not that taxpayer qualifies for earned income credit based on the information and how it's entered in the software for that return. It will determine whether or not they qualify for earned income credit and calculate the amount that they will receive. Again, I'll keep saying it. There is nothing that you have to calculate, compute, or figure out as it relates to a tax return using this software. The software does all the calculating for you. There is a worksheet for earned income credit, and if a taxpayer qualifies for earned income credit, depending on how the print set is set up for that tax return, it may include that worksheet when it's printed. Again, there's nothing that you have to figure out. You don't have to calculate. The software will automatically do that and include the Schedule EIC in order for that taxpayer to claim that credit. Any questions or concerns as it relates to earned income credit? All right. Miscellaneous credits. These are credits that are don't have their own line. They compile, and so some are common, some are not. The retirement savings contribution credit is one that you may see. It's based on information pulled from the taxpayer's W-2. If that taxpayer has amounts listed in box 12 and 14, depending on what that code is for what's listed in those boxes, then it will automatically pull the information it needs in order to determine whether or not that taxpayer qualifies for the retirement savings contribution credit. For the retirement savings credit, in order for the taxpayer to be eligible, the individual must have made a voluntary contribution to a retirement account. They must not be a dependent on someone else's return. They can't be a full-time student, and they have to be at least 18 years old. That credit is also claimed on the Form 8880. That form is automatically pulled based on the amounts from that W-2 in those boxes. So again, there's nothing that you have to figure out. The credit for the elderly or the disabled, that credit is calculated on the Schedule R and reported on Form 1040 Schedule 3, where those other credits combine or compile and move to the line on Schedule 3. In order for the taxpayer to be eligible for the credit for the elderly or the disabled, they must be age 65 or older at the end of the tax year, or Under 65, retired on permanent and total disability, receiving taxable disability income, and under the mandatory retirement age for the company that they retired from. It refers you to the publication 4012, non-refundable credits tabs. There is a decision tree there for that credit. But again, if you've entered all the information needed on that return, then it automatically pull that information for you. Mortgage interest credit. This is listed only for informational purposes only, because this is out of scope for the VITA TCE program. If you have a taxpayer coming in that wants to claim a credit for the mortgage interest based on the mortgage credit certificates that they received, then you will need to refer them to a paid preparer in order to take that. It is out of scope for the VITA TCE program. But it is, or it could qualify them for a non-refundable credit for any mortgage interest that they paid, but they would have to have that document showing that mortgage credit certificate. Residential energy credits is for individuals who purchase qualified energy efficient improvements for their main home. This also is a non-refundable tax credit. There are two types of residential energy credits: the residential clean energy credit, which is on form 5695. That part is out of scope for the VITA TCE program. But if taxpayers made any type of energy efficient home improvements, then they may be eligible for a credit that's claimed on part 2 of the form 5695 that is in scope for the VITA TCE program. Most times they don't. If the taxpayer comes in and they've made changes or improvements to their home, they already know about that credit, and so they'll have the information you need in order to put that information on the return. The credit is available for certain qualified energy efficiency improvements or residential energy property costs. It refers you to the miscellaneous credit lesson in publication 4491 that goes more into details on that credit. Non-refundable credits are reported on the applicable lines of Form 1040 Schedule 3. Credits cannot exceed the taxpayer's federal income tax. It refers you to the publication 4012 non-refundable credits tabs for more information. As I stated, out of scope for this lesson is mortgage interest credit. Other credits listed on Schedule C not included in this or any other prior lesson, or the residential clean energy credit claimed on part 1 of the form 5695, and qualified electric vehicle credits, which is the form 8834. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that credit ended last year and it's not included this year. Other taxes. Other taxes are usually calculated on their own form or schedule and are added after the non-refundable credits are calculated. Other taxes include self-employment tax, Social Security and Medicare taxes on tip income, additional taxes on IRAs or other qualified retirement plans, household employment taxes, and repayment of the first-time home buyer credit. And the first-time home buyer credit is not something that you will see this year. That form was stopped. That is listed in the important changes for 2025. But those forms have been made historical, and the form cannot be filed for 2025. Self-employment tax and additional taxes on IRAs or other qualified retirement plans are the two most common ones that you will see. Self-employment tax is automatically calculated. And if based on the Schedule C or business income that's input on the return, and if the taxpayer takes a distribution from their IRA or any other type of qualified retirement plan that results in any additional tax, that will also be automatically applied to the return unless that taxpayer qualified for an exception. Self-employment tax are calculated primarily from individuals who work for themselves. It Self-employed taxpayers who receive Form 1099 miscellaneous must file Schedule C and Schedule SE. Again, that form is automatically pulled and calculated based on the information entered on the return. So if you're entering 1099 miscellaneous information that populates to that Schedule C, that Schedule SE is going to automatically populate for you. There is a long and short version that is used to calculate the SE tax. More times than not, you're going to see the short version of the Schedule SE. Tip income. Workers who receive $20 or more per month in tips must report their tips to their employer. The employer reports these tips as part of the wages on Form W-2 Box 1 and withholds Social Security and Medicare taxes and federal income tax. An employee who receives $20 or more in unreported tips per month must report the income on Form 1040 and pay the Social Security and Medicare taxes. Taxes for unreported tips are calculated on Form 4137, Social Security and Medicare tax on unreported tips. Unreported tip income, excuse me. It refers you to the publication 4012 income tab for more information as it relates to that. In all the years that I've been doing VITA, I don't think I've ever seen tip income or unreported tips to where the Form 4137 had to be used. Although it's not uncommon, I have not done a return that had tip income. Qualified retirement plans. Traditional IRAs and other qualified plans allow individuals to defer paying taxes until the funds are distributed. The taxpayer must pay income tax plus an additional tax as a penalty if any of the following apply. A distribution is taken before the individual reaches the age of 59 and a half, and it is not rolled over into another qualified plan or IRA that's in scope for the VITA program. If the taxpayer takes minimum distributions that are not withdrawn when required, that's out of scope for the VITA TCE program. Also, excess contributions that are not removed by the due date of the return, including extensions, are also out of scope. What you will see is taxpayers that have the 1099-R for any type of distribution that they took. Again, if they are under the age of 59 and a half and they did not roll that money over, then it's going to automatically apply that penalty unless there is an exception. The taxpayer says, I use that money to go to school, to buy my first home, to pay medical expenses, things of that nature, then they will get that penalty. Qualified individuals who receive coronavirus related distributions are not subject to the 10% additional tax on early distributions. It refers you to the retirement income lesson for details. I think that anyone who took distributions during the pandemic, I think all of that has expired. I'm not sure. Don't hold me to that. So the 10% additional tax was not added. But now if a taxpayer takes a distribution and they don't meet that age requirement, then that penalty is automatically added. The Form 5329 Part 1. You won't have to remember what these parts are. Again, that form is automatically calculated or compiled and added to that return. It will print with the taxpayer's copy of their return and any amounts will go into their respective places. Even if the taxpayers state that they have an exemption for not paying that additional penalty on that return, then it'll populate to the respective place on that Form 5329. Line 1 of that Part 1 shows the amount of the distribution included in income. Line 2 shows the amount that qualifies for an exception if it applies. Line 3 shows any amount subject to any additional tax. And line 4 is the additional tax that will be carried over to Form 1040 other taxes. Again, the first time home buyer credit, I've already stated that the Form 5405 has already been made historical and cannot be filed for the 2025 tax year. Figuring total tax, you don't have to, again, compute, compile, figure, calculate anything that's on the return that's in the software. The software does all of that for you. The total tax amount on Form 1040 includes the tax on all income, adjustments to income, deductions, non-refundable tax credit, and other taxes. The next step is entering tax payments and refundable credits. The final calculation is the amount of taxes owed or the amount overpaid that will result in a refund. So once you've entered all the income, the adjustments, the deductions, the credits, the taxes, then you get to the portion of the return that determines whether or not that taxpayer will be in green or they're going to be in red. Out of scope for this other taxes lesson is if taxpayers have household employment taxes, they did IRA minimum distributions that were not withdrawn when required. They had excess contributions to an IRA not removed by the due date of the return, including extensions. If they are using any other part of that Form 5329, then that's out of scope for the VITA TCE program. If they took a distribution from an ABLE account that exceeds the qualified disability expenses, if they are subject to the additional Medicare tax on Form 8959, or if they are subject to the net investment income tax on Form 8960. Payments. The most common payment that you're going to see is federal income tax withheld. You want to ensure when you are looking at the income documents that the taxpayer gives you that you are looking at every box that is on that form, because sometimes it's easy to overlook an amount in those boxes. Sometimes they are big enough for you to see, sometimes they are not. And so you want to ensure that you are looking at the correct box on those forms so that you can enter the information in the correct spot that it needs to go in. The total federal income tax withheld is entered in the payment section of the Form 1040. Once you've entered it in, if the taxpayer had a W-2 or 1099-R, a Social Security statement, or whatever that looks like, and they had federal withholding removed, then it's going to compile all of those amounts and enter it on that federal income tax withheld section of the Form 1040. That's not something that you will have to do separately. It's based on what you entered on those income documents. It refers you to Publication 4012, Tab H, Other Taxes, Payments, and ACA. It also refers you to Publication 505, Tax Withholding and Estimated Tax, for more information. Estimated tax payments is not something that you will commonly see. However, you may see it. Taxpayers will need to advise you if they made estimated tax payments and know the amount of the estimated tax payments that they paid. If they have estimated tax payments, if they made estimated tax payments and they don't tell you, their return will reject because it's showing those estimated tax payments. The return can reject if the return does not show those estimated tax payments. If the taxpayers state that they have made estimated tax payments, you need to know the total amount. Some taxpayers will confuse estimated tax payments for payments that they've made if they owe the Internal Revenue Service. So you'll need to clarify if they've made estimated tax payments or if they're making payments to the Internal Revenue Service before that amount is entered on their return. If estimated payments are not paid when required or amounts are insufficient, a penalty could be imposed. It advised you to use your Form 13614C and the interview to determine if taxpayers paid estimated tax. If a taxpayer has paid estimated tax, then you won't have to ask. They'll tell you. Most are not going to forget that they've sent money into the Internal Revenue Service. It refers to the publication 505 or the Form 1040X ES for more information. Amounts applied from previous year. This is just like the estimated tax payments. If a taxpayer had their refund, wanted their refund applied to the next year, thinking that they may owe or anything like that, then they'll need to know. They'll need to advise you that they had amounts or that they have an amount applied from a previous year, so that you can enter that in the respective place on the return. Form 4868 is the application for automatic extension of time to file U.S. individual income tax return. It extends the time to file until October 15th. That's normally the date. Sometimes that gets extended. If a taxpayer comes in and they want an extension, you are able to file that Form 4868 for them. If you're not sure, you want to always follow the direction of your site coordinator. But an extension must be filed electronically or on paper by the due date of the tax return. If taxes due or not paid by April 15th, taxpayers may owe interest or penalties. I always advise, if a taxpayer think they're going to owe and they want to file an extension because they don't want to file by the due date of the return, I advise them that filing the Form 4868 gives them time to file the return but not pay. And so they do need to be made aware that penalties and interest still will apply from the due date of the return. The extension does not stop that from happening. It refers you to the publication 4012, tab M, for more information on filing an extension. Excess Social Security and Tier 1 RRTA. A taxpayer of more than one employer may have a combined income over the amount of Social Security wage base, resulting in overpayment of Social Security tax. The excess amount is entered on Form 1040, Schedule 3, and is a refundable credit. Taxpayer computes excess Social Security taxes automatically based on entries from your Form W-2. And so that's not something that you will have to figure out. You will have a lot of taxpayers that do work multiple jobs. And so it may result in overpaid or excess Social Security being taken or being paid by them. And so the software will know that based on the entries from your income documents, whether or not that is the case. Out of scope, if a taxpayer can claim any of these credits listed, the Form 4136, credit for federal tax paid on fuels, 2439, notice to shareholder of undistributed long-term capital gains, Form 8839, qualified adoption expenses, and Form 8885, health coverage tax credit. If a taxpayer states that they had adoption expenses or they want to claim a credit for health coverage, then you need to refer them to a paid preparer. Refund and amount of tax owed. The taxpayer's total tax appears in the other taxes section of the Form 1040. The taxpayer's total payments already made, including refundable credits, appears in the payment section of the Form 1040. If payments made exceed the amount of tax liability, the amount of the overpayment appears in the refund section of the Form 1040. If the tax liability exceeds the total payments, the balance due appears in the amount you owe section of the Form 1040. Before you even get to the bottom section of the Form 1040, your software is going to show you what that refund or amount owed or amount due is. And it's a running total. So it starts computing based on where you are in your in the return. And we'll see that when we get into the practice lab. Refunds. The Form 8888 is the allocation of refund. That form is used to deposit a refund into up to 3 bank accounts. If the taxpayer wants to split their refund into multiple accounts up to 3, then you can use the Form 8888 is going to populate based on the information that you enter on that return. It refers to the publication 4012, tab K, finishing the return. The IRS has stopped as of September 30th, 2025, I believe is the date. They've stopped paper refund checks. And so if the taxpayer does not have a bank account, a lot of the sites are doing is that they will have someone like an Orion representative that we met on Saturday at their site to help the taxpayer establish an account so that they are able to have their refund direct deposited. A lot of times a taxpayer will come in and they'll have the router and account number for you to put on their return. You can or you don't have to necessarily make them aware that some banks, most banks now, will reject that refund if that taxpayer's name is not on that account. And so that's not something that you have to verify with the taxpayer. If they're providing their router and account number, you don't have to ask if this your account, is your name on the account. You can make them aware. If they make you aware that that's not their account, but they want the money refund direct deposited there, you can advise them that you may want to check with the bank. Sometimes the bank will reject that refund because your name is not on the account. And if that happens, that money is sent back to the Internal Revenue Service. I don't know exactly what the guidance is for taxpayers who don't have electronic means in order to receive their deposit. I
Uh,
was doing some. Mhm.
Sorry, Laquisha. I've been
Okay.
following this pretty closely, so
Okay.
I'll jump in real quick. I think what happens if they don't put a direct deposit is the IRS is going to send them a letter afterwards asking if they want to establish a bank account.
Okay.
Um, and so it's just going to essentially, it's going to really delay the process. I
Hmm.
think they will this year. You would eventually get a paper check, as part of your refund, but I think it will be multiple months before somebody sees that money. So we're really going
Hmm.
to try and push people to create a checking account. And we'll try and have that information with all of our site coordinators with different options to be able to do that. So.
Okay. I was reading online as it relates to like taxpayers who receive Social Security, things like that. In some guidance that was out originally when the news came out that paper checks were stopping, that some entities are they have some sort of electronic card. I'm not sure where that information falls, if that even relates to if a taxpayer is able to do that. But what we want to encourage is for the taxpayers to establish a bank account, to have their money or refund direct deposited into that account that belongs to them, so that they are not hindered from receiving their refund. Because at this point, we don't know how long. We wouldn't be able to give them an estimate of when they would receive those refunds if they don't have any type of electronic means of receiving it. It advises to double check accuracy of routing and account numbers for direct deposit refunds. The software is pretty good about you putting the routing and account number in. Most times you have to put it in twice to ensure that you'll put it in the correct number. It's also one of the things that, as a quality reviewer, you are wanting to check. That's one of the numbers that you are wanting to make sure that you are checking router and account numbers to make sure that they are correct. Taxpayers can check the status of their refund at Where's My Refund on irs.gov, or they can call the 800-829-1954. That's an automated number for them to check the status of their refund. Amount owed. This is not something any of us like to see, especially the taxpayer. However, some returns do result in the taxpayer owing. And so they can make payments. There are a lot of different ways for them to be able to make a payment. They can set up an installment agreement if that's easier for them. that is available in the software. I don't know if uh, it may depend on your site whether or not the site will allow for you to complete that form 9465. Is a real simple form within the software. If a taxpayer states that they want an installment agreement, most taxpayers that owe are going to have you to print their return so that they can mail it in at a later time. You will have some that owe that will have you to go ahead and electronically file it, and they'll deal with it at a later time. And so that is options that the taxpayers do have. It refers you to tab K of your 4012, finishing the return, balance due returns. Estimated tax penalties. The software, I believe, will ask a question as it relates to the estimated tax penalty. That's not something that you have to figure out. But it may apply for any underpayment of estimated taxes. So especially for self-employed individuals, but anytime their return shows a balance due, it will go into an estimated tax penalty, or could go into an estimated tax penalty that's calculated on the Form 2210. That Form 2210 is out of scope for the VITA TCE program. And so again, that is not something that you will have to figure out. It is reported on the Form 1040, line 38. And it says if the penalty is due, the IRS will figure the amount and send the taxpayer a notice. So you will have some taxpayers that already know that they're going to owe, or that they owe. Some owe for multiple years. And the most common reason is them not having enough withholding taken from their income. And so, but you will have some taxpayers who are filing the return and did not recognize the amount of money that they earned over the year, or did not know how to correctly complete their Form W-4 to adjust their withholding amounts. And so they will question you on why they have a balance. And so if that's not a question that you can answer, you can always refer them to a more seasoned volunteer preparer or your site coordinator. But more than likely, you can look at the return and know that they did not have enough withholdings. And so you can advise that there was not enough withholding or credits to offset their tax liability. What I always refer the taxpayers to in that case is for them to do the withholding calculator on irs.gov using their most current pay stub to determine whether or not they are having enough withholding taken out to avoid owing in the next year. And so some are able to adjust their W-4 to stop it from happening. Some are not, or some just are intentional of not having withholding taken out and know that they'll owe. And so if that's a conversation the taxpayer needs to have with you, and then so they'll ask. It's not your responsibility to advise on why they have the balance, what they can do to prevent the balance. But if you know and can answer their question for them, you are more than welcome to do that. Third-party designees is not something that is common that you will see that a taxpayer is going to ask you, but a third-party designee authorizes another person to discuss a taxpayer's tax return with the IRS. And so if the person states that they want to put a designee on their return, there is a place in the software for you to enter that information. You should never be listed as a taxpayer's third-party designee. This is, again, not something that's common that a taxpayer is going to ask for you to do, is enter a third-party designee on their return. But if they do, there is a place for you to enter that information in the software. To avoid errors, you want to ensure that you are checking routing and account numbers for direct deposit, or if the taxpayer decides they want to do an electronic funds withdrawal because they owe, you want to ensure that you are checking the routing and account numbers to make sure they match what the taxpayer gives you. You want to always ask them to review the bank account information and routing numbers, especially if they have that number written down or if they're verbally telling you what that account or routing number is. Even when if you are a quality reviewer, you print their return. One of the things that I always do is have that taxpayer look over the routing and account number for the in the direct deposit section to ensure that what we have on that return is what they given us or what they said. Ask the taxpayers to write their initials next to the banking information on their copy of the return to confirm they have verified the information and that is correct. You will want to go off of the policy and procedure of the site and what the site coordinator has in place in order to verify that that information is correct. That may be something that they do, especially if the taxpayer is verbally telling you or they have it just written down on a piece of paper. Any questions or concerns about anything that we've talked about?
Well, LaQuisha. Hello?
Uh-huh, I can hear you.
Okay. If a person come in that owe like last year and they had made payment arrangements and they filed this year and they ask us is they gonna take it, what are we to tell them?
You can tell them yes. Now,
Okay.
if you are not comfortable answering their question, then I would refer them to the Internal Revenue Service. But it will be applied to any balance that they owe.
Okay.
But if you're not comfortable, you can have the site coordinator answer that question for you. Um, but yeah, or refer them to the IRS.gov website. That
Okay.
information is available on there. I can find the exact spot for you if you need to. But yeah, if you are comfortable answering that question, then you can answer it. But if you are not, refer them to the site coordinator or refer them to the Internal Revenue Service for them to get that question answered.
Okay.
I have a question, Miss LaQuisha.
Hmm.
So, what if your dependent turns 17 in March? Can you still claim them as a dependent?
No. Well, yeah. So you can claim them as a dependent. So I don't know if this. Yeah. So the question in the chat is if they turn 17, can you still claim the child tax credit? No.
Mhm.
So
Okay,
so they have to be under 17 at the end of the tax year, and so
gotcha.
they would have to. So because they turn uh, 17 in March, then they were still 16 at the end of the tax year. So if they were
Gotcha.
16 at the end of the tax year, then yes, you still receive the child tax credit for them.
Okay,
And even if they're 17, 19, you're still providing if you pass all those tests. If they don't
okay,
qualify for the child tax credit, then that rolls into the credit for other dependents.
okay. Thank you.
Mhm. And someone said that the felony question has been removed from the FAFSA. And so while it has been removed, while it may have been removed from the FAFSA, it's still a requirement for the education credit. As far as I know, I don't that has not changed. And so the software, if they are claiming the American Opportunity Credit, it is going to ask that question. Any other questions or concerns? So I have 7:29. I want to do a 10-minute break. If that's fine, we'll come back and hop right into the advanced certification. If you have not already established a Lincoln Learn or a Practice Lab account, then that's the first thing that we're going to do is establish. I'll walk you through how to sign into the Practice Lab, and then we'll hop into the advanced certification the questions where it you have to complete a return. I will not spend a lot of time on establishing those accounts because I want to get through as much of the certification as we have time for. In those scenarios where you have to enter a return in the practice lab can take uh, a lot of time, especially since we're in the virtual setting. And so if you have questions regarding the practice lab, setting up the practice lab, the Lincoln Learn account, then that's something that we can do offline after we finish at the end when we've gone through the certification. All right. Um, let's come back at 7:40. Well, I have 7:31 now. So let's do 7:45. And then we'll hop right back right into the certification. All right. It is 7:45. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can.
All right. Well, thank you so much. So what you are seeing is the Vita TCE landing page or link learncertification.com. This is where you are going to go to access the practice lab, to sign in to do your certifications. And so if you have not already created an account for Lincoln Learn, uh, to my right at the very top corner is where you will sign in or create an account if you have not already done so. The practice lab is listed under quick links. And so in order for you to, can you all still see my screen? Or what are you seeing on the screen?
That password, enter
Okay.
password, login.
And so, in order for you to access Lincoln Learn Practice Lab, you have to have an initial password. That password is Train Pro Web, all one word, all caps. That's even, um, let's see. And so if you have not already created an account, then this is where it's going to take you to in order for you to either log in or create an account. And so if you have not created an account, you will need to do so because the advanced scenario, while the first six scenarios don't require you to complete a return or a practice return, the last three does. In order for you to do that, you will have to have a practice lab account. All right. So my hope is for us to be able to, if you are signed in or you're able to get to a spot where you can create an account or sign in, please do so. And so I will go through scenario 8. That seems to be the more complicated one out of the certification. And so I will go through 8. And if we have time, I would like for you all to go through probably 9. That may be the easiest one on your own to see if you're to get you a little bit comfortable before we all come back together. I'll give you a few minutes to try to play around and get as far as you can in that scenario. And then we'll come back together so that we can finish it out or get as far as we can in the advanced certification. Any questions or concerns so far? No, I'm going to take a silence as no. What you will need in order for you to complete the certification is the form 6744. That form is available, or that publication is available online at irs.gov. It is not listed as a publication, so if you are searching for it, you will need to search for form 6744. And it will bring that up for you. It is a booklet that has the test scenarios and questions in it.
Lucretia, this is Ann. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, just question. Okay, so when we're signing, I've created both passwords. So if we sign in up at the little corner, I'm actually using my practice lab password. That's what we're going to use.
No, so at the top right hand corner where it says
Mhm.
sign in, create an
Yes,
account on the landing page,
yes.
that's Lincoln Learn. That's where you take your
Okay,
certifications. You will need to go under the quick links where it says
okay.
practice lab.
Okay, so then okay. So
And
okay,
you
then go ahead and put open
uh-huh.
that one up and put my the one that I created. I've created a password already.
Yes. And so,
Okay.
when you initially click Practice Lab and it asking for that password, the initial password that it's asking for is the Train Pro Web password. You won't put your password in until it gets to the page that says sign in or create an account. You'll then
Okay,
need your username and password.
okay, so I just have to put that train pro. Okay, and then put my other
Okay.
one in. Create. Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank
Miss
you.
Lucretia.
Uh-huh.
So we have to access the practice lab, we put in the Train Pro
Web.
and then we go to creating an account to be able to do the practice test for the assessment, right?
Yes. So once you put in the Train Pro Web, it takes you to create an account or sign in. Sign in just like I just did. It once you've created the account and it's you signed in, it's going to bring you here to this practice lab home landing page. Do I need to go back so that you all can see it from the beginning?
Oh,
Yes, you know,
yes,
Yes.
yes. Mm-hmm.
thank
Let's
you so
see.
much.
So if you are on the Vita TCE landing page, don't sign in for the certification. You're going to go to the bottom where it says quick links. On the quick links is where it has practice lab. Let's see. Can you all see the landing page? Or what are you seeing?
You talking about the landing page where it says Vita
TCE.
TCE Central?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And
Okay.
from here where?
Quick, you see where it says quick links here?
Right.
So practice lab is here.
Practice lab is. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, it's down below. Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
And so signing in here takes you to Link and Learn for you to do your certifications. And so remember, it's always two different sign-ins. And so here is when you are ready to take your certifications. But until you get ready to take your certifications, you're going to use the practice lab here.
So are we not, so the only place we're logging in is in the practice lab. We're not logging into the other one. So we're not logged into both of them at the same time.
No,
Okay.
no, it won't be necessary for you to log into to both at the same time. I would advise for you to go through and complete the scenarios first, doing the practice returns, all of that before you go into Link and Learn. I mean, you can go into Link and Learn however many times you want. There is not a limit, but there is no point in going in until you're ready to do your certifications.
Okay, I already created and set up my sign in for the link and learn, but I
Okay.
hadn't done anything else. I just created my sign in stuff.
Okay.
Lakisha,
Mm-hmm.
what's the SIDN number? I don't know which location I'm at.
So you're on the practice lab?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it
So
says site identification number required.
you don't need the SIDN number.
It doesn't go further. It says required.
To create an account for the practice lab?
Yes, ma'am.
Here?
Yes, ma'am.
So that should not be required for you.
But it doesn't go further.
So on the program type, what are you putting on the program type?
Vita.
And so it does not. So the SIDN number shouldn't be. So you should have to enter an email address.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't require it. I was able to
Right.
create it without it. Okay, let me retry. Thank you.
Set up a username, whatever you want that username to be. And then you're going to enter a password. And so that password, if you are not using enough characters, it is going to advise you, but let's see. And so the passwords must be at least 15 characters, no more than 25 characters in length. So ensure you are writing down that password so that you don't forget it. Your password now you can use the same password for the practice lab and Link and Learn, but you'll need to create your practice lab first because the Link and Learn does not require 15 characters.
So we come to this page, create an account after the practice lab password page.
Right,
Okay.
right.
I was able to log in. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Um, what is the code again? The train
Train,
web?
Train Pro Web, all one word, all caps. Uh, oh, it's in the chat if anyone
Okay,
needs it.
thanks.
Mhm. So once you've created the account, or if you've already previously created an account and you've entered your Train Pro Web, you've got to sign in. You've signed in or you created an account. Then it's going to bring you here to this landing page. So once you are here at this landing page, you're going to go to practice area.
So every time you go to the practice lab, you have to use that Train Pro Web.
Yes. Once you enter the practice lab, this is what it brings you to. This is what the exact software looks like. This is only a test version or practice version of it. But this is what the software looks like. And so you playing around, getting familiar with this software will help you get familiar with the actual TaxSlayer software. All of this information that's listed over to the left is information that's listed in the live software. If you need to get to the IRS website, if you need mailing addresses, if the taxpayer wants to know where can I mail my return to, you can click on that. If you need publications, any type of user guide, there's a Vita TCE blog. If you have any type of questions or concerns, they may already be answered, or you can put a question out there. There's a suggestion box. The interactive tax assistance decision trees are located there as well. If you taxpayer is needing information as it relates to state taxes, there is a link there for State Department of Revenue links. All right. If you don't have the form 6744 pulled up, I don't know if I'll be able to split my screen for you all to be able to see. Um, let's see. Can you see the 6744?
Yes.
Okay. So this form 6744 is the book that you will use in order to complete your certifications. It has all the certifications, the volunteer income, the volunteer standards of conduct, the intake, interview, and quality review test. If you're doing the site coordinator, if you're doing basic, if you're doing advanced, if you're doing military, whatever certification you're doing, you will find it in this book. You will need this book in order to complete your scenarios because it has the information that you need in order to do it. And so, just like if you were at a site and a taxpayer came in and they had already went through the intake interview, they had already been screened, and they're just waiting. Now they're sitting in front of you to prepare their return. The information that is given in this booklet gives you all the information just like a taxpayer was sitting in front of you. The advanced certification starts on page 75. Let me get to it. Hold on. The advanced course scenarios and test questions start on page 75. When it starts on page 75 for advanced scenario 1, it advises you that the first 6 scenarios do not require you to prepare a tax return. It advises you to read the interview notes for each scenario carefully and use your training and resource materials to answer the questions after the scenarios. And so what I would advise you to do if you don't have a hard copy book, 6744, then I would advise for you to have pencil and paper so that you're able to write your answers down after you've answered them. If we're not able to get through the full certification on tonight and you are doing the certification on your own, make sure that you are using your resources, the 4012, the publication 17, irs.gov, the 1040 instructions, whatever resources you need in order to get these questions answered correctly. All right?
I have a question.
Okay.
How did you open this this document 6744?
If you hold on, let's see. So
I
it should download. So if you go to irs.gov, type in form 6744, and depending on what type of device you're on, it should automatically open or it should download for you to be able to open it.
Okay. But the page 75 doesn't show us your page. I opened the book. The page 75 for me is retest basic scenario 5, Neil Ferguson.
And so make sure you're looking at the page number at the bottom of the page.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, sorry.
So when you get ready to, as I stated, the first 6 does not require a return or a practice return to be done. And so you're just going to read the interview notes and answer the questions. And so, for instance, if we were doing scenario 1, it says Joy's husband, Peter, moved out of their home in March of 2023. Joy has had no contact with Peter since he moved out. Joy and Peter are not legally separated. Joy has one child, Valerie, age 10. She will claim Valerie as a dependent on her 2025 tax return. Joy is 31 years old. Joy earned $46,000 in wages and received $50 of interest. Joy had lottery winnings of $2,000 reported on Form W-2G. Joy paid all the costs of keeping up her home. She provided over half of the support for Valerie. They are U.S. citizens and have valid Social Security numbers and have lived in the U.S. all year. Based on that scenario, would Joy qualify for the head of household filing status?
Yes.
True.
Anyone disagree with that? So
No.
the answer would be A, true. And so you're going to read through those interview notes and then answer those questions for the first 6. So when we get to advanced scenario 7, it gets more detailed. And so it says, using the tax software, complete the tax return, including Form 1040 and all appropriate forms, schedules, and worksheets. Answer the questions following the scenario. And so we already know that the forms, schedules, and worksheets automatically populate based on the information that you enter. It gives you the Social Security cards. It only gives you the first 5 digits. The last 4 are X's. Anywhere you see X's is for you to put in a number. So for me, most times I just use zeros or 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 9, 9, or whatever that looks like. And so if you are going through these scenarios multiple times, all you have to do is to change the Social Security number. And so you can leave it at 41600 for Martin and do 0000 for the first time, 1, 2, 3, 4 the second time, 5, 6, 7, 8, or however that relates, or whatever is easier for you. It is going to give you your Form 13614C, all the pages that you will need in order to complete this. What it does not give you is city, state, and zip or phone numbers. That is information that you can make up on your own. And so anywhere you see YS or your city, then you can put whatever city that you want. Your zip code, your city, your state zip code, phone numbers. So you can make up all of those. Anything else is going to give you all the information that you need. When it gets to income documents, again, anywhere you see an X, so like for the employer identification number, the last 4 digits are not there. You're going to make up those 4 digits as well. I use the zeros or 999s or 1234. But you need to complete every number that you're entering. Any questions or concerns?
I have one more.
Okay.
How do I know if my answers are right or wrong?
I'm sorry.
How do I know if my answers are right or wrong while doing the test, like practice test?
I'm not understanding your question.
Like any of the example that you gave,
Mm-hmm.
which I mean any example. So if it says true or false, how do I know if the answer is true or false? Like, is there any answers at the end? I mean, this is just practice, right? So these are not actual tests.
No.
This
So
is the
so
real
the,
test.
this is the actual certification. This is the actual scenarios or questions for the actual certification test. So no, this once when you enter this information, it's not going to advise you whether or not you are right or wrong. It's going to go off of whatever you put into the practice lab.
Oh, okay, got it. Thank you.
So we are going to do advanced scenario 8. And so I'll enter the information for scenario 8 so that you all can see it, walk through it with me if you have the practice lab up. And so you all are able to get a feel of what that looks like. But scenario 8 is for Jocelyn Jones. It says Jocelyn is a paralegal. She's 26 and she's single. She has investment income and a consolidated broker statement. She is self-employed, delivering meals for Fast Eats on the weekends. She received a Form 1099 NEC and a Form 1099K. She received additional cash payments of $750, none of which were tips. She uses the cash method of accounting, and she uses the business code 492,000. She provided a statement from Fast Eats indicating the fees paid for the year. These fees are considered ordinary and necessary for the food delivery business. She had fees for an insulated box, vehicle safety inspection, and Fast Eats fees. So because those fees are necessary for her fast food delivery business, she can claim those expenses. But she also had receipts for out-of-pocket expenses that she paid. And so she paid $120 for tolls, $500 for traffic tickets, and $320 for her lunches. Would any of that be included in her expenses?
Maybe the
Traffic tickets
tolls?
could not be included.
I didn't hear you.
The traffic tickets could not be included.
Mhm. Is that all?
I think none should be included.
That's
Yeah.
correct. So we would she could use the tolls because that was necessary for her business, but we're not going to give her a deduction for what she spent for lunch or for a traffic ticket that she got. All right. Jocelyn's record-keeping application shows she has driven a total of 2,500 miles doing it between deliveries. It has information that for her vehicle, so you will need to use that if a taxpayer is claiming vehicle expenses. She is paying on her student loan from 2019 when she completed her undergraduate degree. She is working towards her Juris Doctorate degree to start a new career as a lawyer. She took a few college courses this year at an accredited college. She also took an early distribution from her IRA in April. She used $2,600 of that to pay her educational expenses for the current year. She has never made any non-deductible contributions to her IRA. If she gets a refund, she wanted direct deposited into her checking account. And so it provides us with Jocelyn's Social Security number, So when you are here in the practice lab or the live software, what you want to do is to start a new tax return. And so you have to enter the social security number twice so that you are in and that just verifies that you are entering that information correct. I can't remember what I used the last time. Let's see. I don't pick any of these when it's time, when it is to go into, I just start the return. Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Also, the nice thing about the software is if it's somebody who's coming back to us, it's especially coming back to the same site, it's going to remember a lot of their basic information. So you'll still want to go over it with them, but it'll save you the time of typing it all back in.
Having to enter that information, absolutely. And one of the best things they could have done was that global carry forward, because some taxpayers go to different VITA sites. And so now they are able to retrieve that information, even if they went to the Southland Mall site last year and now they're going to Hickory Ridge. That information is populated. And so it will give you the option to review that information versus starting a whole new return for them.
Grisha,
And so when
this
you're,
is, I'm sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
just, okay, now, when you're on the practice lab, I'm on the page, I got it up. Okay, then when I hit the little button, select for the new 2025 tax return,
Mm-hmm.
I should have come up to what you have.
Where it says start.
Okay, I just had select. Okay, when you went from that thing, I hit select.
Here?
Yes,
Are you here?
yes, I am.
Right. So it should have brought you here. It should have,
And it
if you're
didn't.
starting a new return.
Okay, and it didn't.
What did it bring you to?
Okay, that did then. Okay, I did it 3 times. Okay, it did then. I
Okay.
guess I didn't move my mouth right. Okay.
Mm. So this is the first thing that you're going to get to, whether you're in the practice lab or the live software. That's the first thing that it's going to bring you to. And so we know based on the interview, what's Jocelyn's filing status?
Single.
Single. And so if you are not sure, it has the filing status wizard there that you're able to click on and go through that with the taxpayer, and it'll advise you of what the best filing status is based on the way the taxpayer answers those questions. So here is where you're going to use your 13614C.
Lucretia, after you put in the social security number, I'm trying to make it go forward, but it's not doing anything.
You put the social security number in twice,
Yes.
and you hit start at the bottom, start return.
Oh, I didn't. I guess I needed to scroll. Okay, sorry.
You're fine.
Okay, perfect.
And
And
so you want to,
it is the actual advanced test, right?
yes. This is scenario 8.
Yeah, a lot of the scenarios in the test will specifically tell you to go into the practice lab and fill out the return so you can answer the questions that are going to follow. So yes, it's part of the test.
So here is where you are wanting to make sure that you are reading the 13614C so that you are able to answer the questions as it relates to the taxpayer.
Where is her
She's
date
not.
of birth?
I'm sorry.
Where is her date of birth?
It is March 8th, 1999.
Sorry, where is it on the question, on the example?
It's on, if you're looking at the 6744, you should be looking at on the 13614C.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Mhm. And so she is not legally blind. She is not disabled. She does not have an IP pin. She is a U.S. citizen. She wants direct deposit. And this is all based off the 13614C. Does she want money to go to the campaign fund? She does. And so you can click that. I always use Tennessee. If you're not in Tennessee, I always use Tennessee because Tennessee does not have a state filing requirement. So that way it won't generate a state return or require you to do a state return. But you can use whatever city, state, and zip that you would like.
Can you go back up to the top of that? But okay. So where I was trying to find okay, I see it. All right. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well,
LaQuisha, just to clarify that question regarding receive, sold, or dispose of a digital asset, that has to do with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, correct?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, someone else may have missed. Let's see. Lord.
When we type this in, like how it's all caps on the form, does it? No, it doesn't. Never mind.
It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Let's see. See if I can find a social security number. Look. Now, come on.
So what's going on with the social?
It's saying it's already been, because you have so many people taking the certification test that they're, because all you have to enter technically is the last 4 digits. And so you have so many people taking the certification test, it won't allow you to use the same social security number. The software, the real software is not going to allow that to happen, especially not for the main taxpayer. It's going to give you an error just like that, saying that social security number is already in use or already exists or something like that. And so the social security numbers that I was trying to use were already showed an account established for the taxpayer.
Okay, LaQuisha, are we actually taking the exam right now?
So what we're doing is completing scenario 8, because scenario 8, 7, 8, and 9 requires you to do a return. And so what we're doing is completing the return for scenario 8 so that you're able to answer the questions. Because you can't answer the questions for 7, 8, and 9 without completing a return. I mean,
Right.
you could, I mean,
Understand,
you
yes.
could, but
Yes.
there's no way for you to get them right without
Right.
doing a
So this is
return.
actually a case study that we're doing.
So this is the return based on the scenario in your 6744.
Lakisha, do I have to mention my phone number and email ID?
You can use whatever phone number you want.
Can I just put random numbers or do I have to?
Yes. So you can be whatever phone number you want. It can't be all nines and it can't be all zeros, but you can make up a number. So once you're past the filing status, once you're past the entity information, name, date of birth, social security number, all of that, it asks if there are any dependents on the return. If Jocelyn had dependents, we will be entering them here, but because she does not, we're going to say no. And so then it brings you into the income section. And so here is where you're going to utilize the information in your 6744 to determine what type of income documents Jocelyn has. And so based on those, starting on page 99 of that 6744, we see that she has a 1099-R, she has a W-2, she has a 1099 NEC, a 1099-K, and then it goes into a 1099 DIV statement that she has. And so you can go in order how it appears in the 6744 or how the taxpayer gives it to you, or you can go in order of the way that it's listed here, as long as you enter all of those income documents. All right. So the first document is a 1099-R. And so where it says 1099-R, we're going to hit begin. And so it asks you what type of 1099-R is it that you have, because here you can enter a 1099 for the Social Security, 1099 for an RRB, or if there was something for any type of non-taxable distributions. But we know we have a 1099-R based on the documents that's in your 6744. If you receive that 1099-R, if it's that box is checked at the very top that says it was corrected, then you would click that this is a corrected 1099-R, or if it's a substitute, that form is going to advise you whether or not it's anything but a standard. If you're in the live software and you enter a payer ID for any of these income documents that's already in the system, it will sometimes populate like this as well. If not, then you'll have to enter the address and any other information as it pertains to that payer. The test start on page 75 for the advanced. And last name Jones, I don't want to mess up your first name. If you're not able to complete this tonight, that's fine. You can always reach out to me if you need assistance.
The taxpayer ID also you have just randomly created?
I'm sorry?
The payer ID, is it just random number?
No, it's on your document in your 6744.
Will we be able to come back and look at this recording?
Yes. So these recordings are going to be placed on YouTube, and Hunter or either Matt normally sends that out to you after tonight. On these 1099-Rs, you want to be careful and ensure that you are reading those documents, because sometimes 2A is not populated, but the software will automatically populate 2A based on the information you enter in 1. Or sometimes that 2A is filled in on the 1099-R, but it's a different amount than what box 1 says. So you want to always ensure that you are verifying what information is in box 2A. Once you've entered all the information for that form, then if it had been a rollover, if the taxpayer says, I took $5,000 out of my IRA account, my retirement account, but I rolled that rolled that money over, then that's when you will click here to show that a part of it, all of it, or whatever amount was rolled over.
Saw you check the box for the IRA SEP simple.
Yes, because it is checked on the form.
Okay, it's a box in a box on the form that counts as
Yeah, so I
checked.
just assumed that it was checked. So I could be wrong. I don't think checking it is going to do anything. Let's see.
Miss LaQuisha,
Mm-hmm.
on that first part, did you put a distribution code at the bottom in number seven? In number
Yes,
7,
it's
what
one.
was it?
One. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
If it had a taxable amount not calculated, do we need to calculate that amount for box 2?
No, so you're just gonna check that box. Anytime, the only time that you'll need to calculate that is if that box is empty. If 2A does not show an amount, that you need to determine what that taxable amount is. And so in reading the interview notes for Jocelyn, we know that she used $2,600 of her of this distribution to pay for educational expenses. So if you're not sure of what qualifies a taxpayer for an exception, you may want to read through your 4012 or the 5329 instructions to find out what qualifies for an exception. There are certain circumstances, just like it states here, in which a taxpayer could qualify for an exception. And so, because I know that educational expenses is one, then I will check this box to say that we're going to exclude part of our distributions from that penalty. And so then at that point, we can go to the 5329 so that we can complete that.
Lakeisha, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I am still stuck in that pair ID. I was able to find the pair ID as 4820. But over here, the pair ID, on 1099R, it says new bank custodian. But mine has automatically selected American General Annuity.
And that's fine, but did you enter 42200 and then finish the last four?
Yeah, I just 42482 and then I added all the zeros. But it automatically picked
No,
up
so
pair
that
name.
number is 48200, and then you enter four other digits.
Yeah, so I randomly just entered all the zeros. I mean 48200 and 0000.
Mm-hmm.
But the pair name on the form, it says as new bank custodian. I mean, yeah. But mine has auto picked up American General Annuity.
And you use the 48200?
Yes, ma'am.
And so it's fine. The question is not going the question is not going to ask you what was the name of the pair. As long as you're entering as long as you're on 1099R and you're entering the information from the boxes as it is stated on the example.
Okay.
So the payer name is not really important. You have to have that payer's identification number in, but whatever name populates is not really important.
Okay.
So once we get to the 5329, we're going to put the amount that is not subject to the 10% tax because it was due to, or she paid it for educational purposes. And the reasons are there. And so if you're not sure, you can always go to that form and see if this is one of the reasons taxpayers said that they withdrew that money. If any of these are not the reason that the taxpayer withdrew that money, then that exception does not apply.
I'm sorry, I lost you. On the page before you got to this section,
Mhm.
was there a box or something that we had to click in order to get to this additional
Yes.
tax? Okay, I must have missed that.
And I'll go back so you can see.
Okay.
And so that is going to deduct $2,600 from what she would have been penalized for because of her age, because it states that she took that to pay for her educational expenses. And so this is where I got that form from.
Okay, so so after like number 13 on there, it talks about rollover and disability. Was one of those boxes checked?
No,
Okay, and then
no,
did you put anything in the state, put anything in the state information?
no.
'Cause there's an asterisk by one of the like 15B, so I thought we had to put something there.
What number?
15B.
No, the state is not required.
Okay, so
No,
maybe
no, even in the live software, state information is not required.
okay. All right, so I'll just continue then. It's just it's automatically putting it in. Let me see if I can clear it.
So what state did you use for the entity information?
Tennessee.
Okay, so yeah, so no state. Did you enter anything in 14?
I think it's letting me do it now. Hold on. Let's see. Nope. Did I put something in fifth? It's doing something. It won't let me go back just yet. Oh my goodness. So it's showing, I'm at the distribution penalty and it says type of plan is required.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me click that because I guess I didn't do that. It won't open. Let me go back. What box did you ask me about? 14.
So did you get past the state?
I don't have any. Yeah, now it's all blank.
Okay.
Let me click. So do I need to?
So you don't need to put anything in the state.
Just continue.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now it's in this page contains the following errors. So it's like I have a bunch of errors.
What
it took out all of my information. So I gotta
it doesn't save. It just goes away.
Guess you gotta save and enter.
Yeah, because
Or
even mine went.
okay. Oh man.
What do I mention in point 7 distribution code?
Mm-hmm.
What
What do
is it?
you put? So all of that is all of that information is on your 1099-R. If you're looking at your 1099-R, all the information that you're going to follow that form from box 1 to box 18 or 19 or whatever, however many boxes is located on that form. Go from 1, check every box to see if there's anything entered.
Yeah,
But
it's
your
1.
distribution code is
1.
is 1 located in
Yeah.
box 7.
Got it.
Mhm. And so the question asked was an early withdrawal from a retirement account due to a qualified disaster. And so you can ask that question to the taxpayer. More than likely, they'll tell you if it was. Normally or commonly, it's no. And so it just brings you back so that you'll have a chance to review the information that you've entered on that return. And you can verify that the information that you enter, or if you need to make corrections, you click on the pencil, or if you need to delete it, you would click on the red box to delete it. If you need to add another Form 1099-R, you can click the plus sign to add another.
Okay, you already have a 1099.
The next form that we have is a Form W-2. We know that it's a standard form because we don't have any indication that says it's anything other than a standard. When you enter the information for inbox 1, it automatically populates those amount in 3, 4, 5, and 6. You want to make sure that you're verifying that information against the W-2 because sometimes sometimes 3 and 5 are different, which is going to make 4 and 6 different.
As per 1099R, there is no retirement plan. So why is it asking me to enter a retirement plan?
I'm sorry? The 1099-R is the retirement plan. Where are you?
I'm on the second page after the retirement income. Distribution penalty 1099R. What type of plan did you receive this distribution from? Retirement
Right.
plan
So
qualified?
it's a retirement plan.
How do you know it's a retirement plan? I mean, how did you check?
The interview advised us that it was a retirement plan. Now on the W-2, it does have state information in the bottom of that Form W-2. I don't enter the state information because it says your state, and I know that Tennessee does not have a state filing requirement. If you wanted to enter a state return, you can, or you could enter the information that's there because it says your state. So you can enter Tennessee, and it still won't populate a return because Tennessee does not have a state filing requirement. And so you could enter that information if you wanted in that return because it's listed there.
After filling 1099R, my federal is negative 500.
I'm sorry?
After filling the 1099R, my return summary AGI is 5,000, but my federal is negative 500.
Did you do the exception? The 5379?
Okay.
If you had another W-2, which is common for a taxpayer, you can save and enter another. But because we don't have another W-2, what we'll do is just hit continue. And so it's going to always bring you back to a summary page. And so if I was entering more than one, once I finished each time I enter one, it's going to, or when I got to the end and I didn't have any more to enter, it's going to bring me here. So that it'll give me a summary of all the W-2s that I entered for that taxpayer. The next form is a 1099 NEC. So once you enter the information from the 1099 NEC, it's going to advise you that income recorded on a 1099 NEC is reported as either business income on a Schedule C or as farm income on a Schedule F. And so it's going to ask you which one do you want to complete in order to report that income. And so we know that this was business income for her. And so we don't need the name and address because she does not have a business name. And so if you did not know the business code, you can click. This just like in the live software, you can click for a list of business codes. So if the taxpayer comes in and tell you that they sell T-shirts or they're a plumber or they do landscaping, you can click for that list of business codes so that it'll give you what that code should be for that particular business. But we know that her interview notes gave us the code of 492,000. And so it's going to automatically populate what type of business that is.
I'm sorry, I have a question on
Mhm.
the W-2. When I
Mhm.
was putting in the income information and it automatically populated like the Social Security and the Medicare, but it doesn't match what's in the book. Do I change that to match what's in the book?
Yes. So when you are entering a W-2 and you enter the information from box 1, it's going to automatically populate that in 3 and 5. And so, and 3 and 5 automatically populates to 4 and 6. And so you will have to verify that that information is correct, or you have to change it based on what the W-2 says.
Okay.
99.9% of the time, those numbers are different. And so you'll have to ensure that you are reading every box, every line on your income documents to ensure that you are entering the correct amount, because the software will auto-populate a lot of information for you.
And we're rounding up to the whole dollar, right?
The software will automatically round up. So you can, if it says 499.89, you can enter 499.89 and it'll round it up automatically. So no, you don't have to.
Where is 5329 form information?
There, when you click through a certain part, it shows go to form 5329.
Yes, I was able to go there, but the information to be filled in that form, where is in that book?
It's in your interview notes because it says she used $2,600 of her distribution for educational expenses. And so we know that she's that amount is removed from the $5,000 distribution because she's exempt from that penalty for that amount.
Okay.
When you're doing a Schedule C, you will need to do the questions about your operation of your business because that's going to determine, you need to know if you're doing the interview with the taxpayer and they advise you that they file a Schedule C, you will need to know what type of accounting method they use, if they have inventory, things of that nature. We know based on her interview notes that she uses the cash method of accounting. So there is, and the rest of where it's automatically checked, those are automatically checked. And so there's nothing that you need to do for those unless the taxpayer answer otherwise. We know that if they are required to file a Form 1099, that's out of scope for the VITA TCE program. So you should not be checking that. This check here, if this is the first Schedule C filed by you for this business, I think that may be new. I'm not sure. So you can ask the taxpayer that question if you need to. But you can ask these questions to get them answered correctly. And so we know that she had general expenses for her business. And so we can put all of those under general expenses. We don't have to, other than the car and truck information. We know that everything else goes under general expenses. And so this is where you would list what that is. If the taxpayer says I spent $500 during the year on advertising, you will put that there. If they said they rented equipment or leased property, had repairs, things like that, you can put it there. I would put let's see. I would put the insulated box rental in supplies. Let's see. Everything else I would just put in, I think it's other. Other. So because there's the other general expenses did not apply, I will put the other expenses under other. And so there you'll have to put a description for that.
Could you show me where did you put the 53, I mean, your form 5329? The 2000 and 5000, where did you enter?
Okay, give me 1 second.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions about what I've entered for the Schedule C so far?
It looked like some people have been kicked out and I guess they're coming back.
Okay.
You lost me like 3 screens ago.
I'm sorry. And so we won't have enough time to get through this return. I did put my email address in the chat box on Monday. I will put it in the chat box again tonight. And so whoever needs assistance, whatever we need to do in order to get you all certified, reach out to me so that we can do it. If we need to jump on a Google call or FaceTime or whatever that looks like, or however that looks like, in order to get you all certified or get you an understanding outside of this, just reach out to me to let me know.
You say you're not gonna be able to finish this one because I wanted to see if I came up with the same answer that you did, but you lost me back there. Like,
okay, so tell me where I lost you.
Don't ask me because I don't even know which screen it was. I had to go back and look at the replay to tell you what screen you lost me on.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm at 5329.
So after you've entered all the information for the return, we know that it's not a rollover We don't have any state information, we're going to continue. So here is where it asks about the penalty. And so because of the taxpayer's age, she took that money out before she was 59 and a half. That results in an additional penalty outside of the tax that she has to pay on this money. And so sometimes the taxpayer can have an exception to paying this penalty depending on why they took that money out of their account. And so we know that she took that money she used part of that money for educational expenses. If you don't know what exceptions apply, then I would advise you to look at your 4012, your 5329, or 1040 instructions that'll give you a list of those exceptions. But because I know that educational expenses is one reason that a taxpayer can be excluded from paying a penalty on those distributions, then I know that a part of her distribution is going to be excluded, which is here. So I'm going to click here to exclude a part of her distribution from penalty because she took it for educational purposes.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to click that box and then click where it says go to Form 5329.
Yes.
Once you go to 5329, then you're going to put whatever part is excluded from the penalty in that box that the taxpayer is not subject to the 10% tax or the 10% penalty or whatever that looks like.
Okay.
And then you got to select the reason for that exemption. So we did the 1099 NEC. Let's see. And we know that the taxpayer had a 1099K. And so you're going to enter the 1099K for the taxpayer so that it can populate to her Schedule C as well. What did I do? So the 1099K that I entered, I think the screen said that it won't populate to the Schedule C. And so you'll have to go into your Schedule C in income. And so you'll enter the amount from the 1099K, but you'll also need to remember that it stated that she had $750 of cash payments. And so the 750 would go in other. If the taxpayer had multiple 1099-Ks, you would click the button next to that in order to enter multiple, and then it will compile that amount for you.
So why is that showing up as Schedule C?
Because 1099-Ks and 1099 NECs populate to the Schedule C.
Okay, you said that.
And so the Schedule C is automatically going to pull information from the 1099 NEC, but it won't pull it from the 1099-K.
So you saying that we have to set the expenses on the 1099 NEC instead of the K?
The expenses?
Yes.
No, the expenses are listed here. That's the income. The 1099-K, it shows income, shows what amount of income she made.
Okay, so how do we input the money she made on the 1099-K at? On the form where it says credit cards?
On which form?
On her 1099-K, because when I hit continue, it takes me to a Schedule C.
Right. After the 1099-K?
Yes, like right there, and then it would take me there.
Right. And so you don't need to do a new Schedule C because you already have one from that populated from her 1099 NEC.
Okay,
So if she did not, if we had not already entered the 1099 NEC and you were entering the 1099-K, then you would input the business income, the business information, and hit continue.
Okay, so I understand that part, but what I'm saying is, do I need to input everything that she has on Schedule K or no?
No, so the only thing you're going to pull from the Schedule K is the total amount.
Okay, that's what was okay. Never mind. Okay, gotcha.
Is the description of business eats, fast eats?
No, where are you? No, so the
Same
description of the business populates from that business code. If you're looking in the interview notes, it gives you that business code. It gave you a business code of 492,000. And so it automatically populates the description of the business.
Okay.
If you were not given that code, then you would have clicked for that list of business codes to determine. Any other questions or concerns about anything we've entered so far?
So when I'm looking at I entered the total amount from the K, 8225, and it said it does not carry to or subtract from. Adds, okay, I see it. Never mind. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And so it's gonna always any section that you go to, as it relates to the income, is going to always bring you back to a summary page to show you what has been entered. It's 9 o'clock. I don't want to hold you all past your time. When you go to the car and truck expenses, this is where you're going to enter the information as it relates to her vehicle. It said that she has an SUV that she put into service on 3/15/2020. And so if a taxpayer tells you they have a small business or they have a Schedule C business and they want to use car and truck expenses, then they'll need to provide you this information. And so we know that her total mileage for 2025 was 12,500. It says of that, 10,000 were personal and commuting. And so that means that she had 2,500 of business miles. And so then you'll need to ask these questions if the taxpayer wants to take if they're you doing car and truck expenses. Any questions, concerns?
Under
Will it
expenses,
show us
what did
where
you enter?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Under expenses, what did you enter? Same Schedule C.
I did general expenses for supplies, for the insulated box that she bought. And I did other expenses for the other expenses that she had. Her vehicle safety inspection fees, her fast eat fees, and tolls.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns as it relates to where we got to?
Don't forget to put your email in the
Oh,
chat.
for those of you who are IRS employees that are in the building, I am in the building this week. I am there until 2:30. And so that if you have any questions or you need anything, you can reach out to me there. But otherwise, you can reach out to me on my email. I will make it a habit of checking my email. My service does not work too good in the building when I'm in the building. And so if you send me an email anytime before 2:30, and I don't respond, it's because of the service in the building. And so you'll need to give me time to get off work and get out that building. And so once I'm able to check it, I'll be able to respond to you at that point.
Man, Mama had to come find you.
Oh, that's fine. You in the building?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, just ping me on Teams and I'll tell you where I am.
Miss
Okay.
LaQuisha, I saw you in the cafeteria this morning.
Did you?
I did.
You should stop me.
Lakeisha,
We can't stalk you from the parking lot.
No, they will not let you on. But again, reach out to me on email. Let's set up a time to talk or whatever that looks like, so that I can assist you all in any way that I'm able to assist you all outside of this. Um, if that looks like somebody want to set up a Zoom, I hop back up, whatever that looks like. I don't mind getting on FaceTime with you or Google Meets or whatever that looks like. If I need to do that as well, to assist you all to get you all certified.
Lakeisha, is this
Mhm.
particular example, this particular example, is there a recording, separate recording that you have completed a little slower, maybe?
No,
Yeah, no.
no. So the part that I've done was for me to do the certification because I had to be certified before I can tell you all anything. And so
Okay.
no, that was not recorded. Um, I wish I had thought about that. Um, but yeah, so up until everything that we've done up until now has been recorded. And so that will be available after tonight on YouTube. Matt or either Hunter will get that out to you. Anything beyond that, you'll need to reach out to me, Hunter, or Matt in order to get some sort of assistance.
If you do a
Yeah.
training for somebody else, like if you're going to train somebody else, I don't mind seeing that recording. I mean, a complete recording.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want you to duplicate the same recording over and over again. Maybe you can just do one recording for somebody and have that recorded and shared with us.
Okay.
Miss
Thank you.
LaQuisha, if you decide with a group of people to do a Zoom or something, is it any type of way that the rest of us can be reached just in case we wanted to join that
If
Zoom or
if you
whatnot?
all wanted to, if somebody wants to set up one and invite me, that's fine. But yeah, so I don't have the information from, or I may be able to reach you out on through the email that Matt sent out. Matt or either Hunter sent out, but I'm not sure. But yeah, if anyone wants to do that and reach out to me to have that done, I don't mind. I don't mind hopping on another Zoom
Yeah,
in order
we
to.
can follow back up with people and see what the interest level is. But at first, I really want to say thank you to LaQuisha once again for doing this training. I know we really appreciate you at United Way, and I know everybody on this call and throughout this whole training appreciates you and the effort that you put in. So, and I want to reiterate that when you're actually volunteering with us, LaQuisha picked one of the toughest scenarios on the test that's designed to be
Right.
tough. So don't get too intimidated. We do want you to know your stuff and we want you to pass the test. But a lot of if it is complicated, we're not expecting you to know it off the top of your head. We're expecting you to have the resources to go find the answer and feel comfortable with that. And so 95 to 99% of the returns you do with our program are not going to be nearly this complicated. We want
Not
you to
at
be
all.
prepared and we want you to know how to do it. But I just want to reiterate, I don't want you to be too intimidated either. So, um, but no, we really appreciate all the volunteers who are on this call as well. We look forward to seeing you out there volunteering with us and our program. We know I find it really rewarding. Our volunteers find it really rewarding, and we hope that you find it really rewarding. And I hope that you've learned a lot these past few sessions. So, like I said, we'll be reaching back out. We can gauge if there's enough interest in trying to get another session together. And we'll have some questions for you and some follow-up information as well. But thank you all for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.